sport here on Sky Sports. The Monaco Grand Prix tomorrow. Here we are well underway with the Magic Weekend from the Super League. Half-time of match 2, Castleford Tigers 32, Wakefield Wildcats 12. Still to come, of course, the big city derby, Hull FC, Hull KR, and Saints against Warrington. But now, second half of Cass and Wakefield. Here's Rob Studd again.
Yeah, thanks, Eddie. Eddie and Phil Clark were talking about the game back at Easter when Wakefield were 37-16 up at Castleford when the game was called off with 7 minutes to go by referee Ben Thaler. You get the feeling Wakefield would be quite pleased for this to be called off now, because that first half punishment they took, they're going to have to produce something special in the second half here to overcome what is currently a 20-point deficit, Sean.
Yeah, I think that would have been contrasting coaches' deliveries at half-time there. I think Darryl Powell's would have been quite simple. He'd have been full of encouragement and praise for his team, and he'd have asked his team to go out and give 40 minutes of the same. I think Richard Agar, however, would have been fairly critical of a side who haven't defended particularly well and have made a number of uncharacteristic errors. He'll be talking about getting more possession, and once you get more possession of the team, you've got a chance, which they have right now.
Here's a chance here. Lee Smith, this is Manchester City soccer skills from the Wakefield Trinity Wildcats. Tim Smith started it. It was almost finished up by Lee Smith.
I think he just needs to check here to see whether he's grounded the ball in goal when he picked it up from Lee Smith. I think looking at that, it probably has. I think the rule of thumb with this is if you would have awarded a try at the other end, then it will be classed as grounding the ball in your own in goal.
Well, the video referees Ian Smith. The player who was involved was Lee Smith. They are not related, I hasten to add, but it did look as though Dixon had grounded it, but obviously they disagree, Stuart. Well, so the ball didn't feather the ground.
Yeah, the rule of thumb is if you would award a try at the other end, then it would be classed as grounded in goal at that end.
Well, that is a break for the Castleford Tigers, no question. Instead of Wakefield getting the football back, let's say 35-40 metres away from the Castleford line, Cass have still got it themselves.
Well, you get days like this, don't you, where some things go your way, and another given day that decision may have been different. But you know what I was saying beforehand, it looks like we've got an injury here, a clash here of players, and it's Paul Ayton who's down. It looks like he might have copped a bit of a head clash. Physio now will take his time, rightly so, with the injuries we get. Sometimes you've got to make sure the player is okay, and you know the referee's done the right thing by stopping this immediately.
Yeah, for sure, Sean, and we certainly hope not. But if Paul Ayton is not fit to continue or gets another knock at some point during the game and has to leave the field, it's a very difficult substitution then for the Wakefield coaching staff to make. You know, Carl Amor on the bench, Kyle Trout, Chris Anakin, we've seen Totai. You know, there's not a natural replacement in there from dummy half. You can possibly swap Danny Washbrook into that position, but you really are then, you know, taking square pegs and round holes, etc., etc.
Jamie Ellis has punted that away straight down the throat of Richard Mathers, who'll bring it away, picked up on his 10-metre line, gets over the 20 before he's clattered by 3 Castleford Tigers. And leading the chase, Oliver Holmes, and Wella Haraki, who's back in the Castleford side today, had missed the last game with a slight shoulder problem. That's what the Spider Cam is showing us as Wakefield take this ball away from their own line. Gives you a perspective of what they're trying to do, trying to get this up towards the halfway line before the clearing kick will come. Well, it won't come if they keep mishandling the football. They've got away with that. And Amor is trying to wrestle his left arm free to get the ball away, and Robert Hicks blows a penalty for Wakefield. Haraki, the offender.
Yeah, it's just a high shot. You can see Wella Haraki's gone up around Kyler Moore's neck area, and there's no question that's a penalty. There's no malice intended in that, and that's all that warranted was a penalty. But it does roll Wakefield down the field. They make about an extra 30 metres pretty cheaply there, and now put themselves in an opportunity to attack.
Well, Amor is getting through a welter amount of work as Totai takes it up, and he's looking to offload once more and trying to wrestle himself out of an elongated tackle. Tim Smith steps onto his left foot, can't get over the try line. Well, Wakefield desperately need the first try of this second half. There's no doubt about that. Lee Smith famed as a fullback, playing the standoff. He won the Harry Sunderland for Leeds in 08 as a fullback, but he's in the halves today. Smith finds Amor again. He'll do well to get the football out of that. 3 Tigers all around him. Solid defence, final tackle, Ethan at dummy half. Smith ball inside, and that is kept alive. Reece Lynn has found Cocaine, and Ben Cocaine has scored a basketball-style try, but it's called an offside. Wakefield will get the penalty. Robert Hicks said the last pass was forward, so they're going to go back to the original infringement, which will be a Wakefield penalty.
Well, at Castleford, they never did get back, so it's a correct decision. And when you think now that Castleford are going to have to defend for a second set of 6 here, they're really Tim Smith's knocked the ball on.
Well, Tim Smith has knocked on. Well, play on's the call. They didn't negate the knock-on by dropping on it. Tim Smith went to sleep after knocking on. Should have dived on the football. Would have been a scrum, and it's cost them, 20 metres because he knocked off early. Stuart, just explain that ruling earlier with the disallowed try.
Yeah, he was trying to play advantage, but there was a forward pass on the last pass for the try, so he went back for the original penalty for the offside.
Well, Wakefield had the advantage of another set from the penalty. Tim Smith dropped the football, and Cats are back on the halfway line.
I don't know about went to sleep, Rod, on the back of that. I think Weller Haraki, and that big collision as the ball hit the floor might have had something to do with it. I don't know whether he knocked him off his guard or off his senses.
Chase with the look one way, past the other technique, and that's forward. Well, a few errors creeping in. Castleford won't really mind if the game gets very bitty and broken because they have a 4-score advantage.
Yeah, they'll want to complete the sets better than that, though, Rod, because it's a bit of a soft turnover. They're doing much better, just toe poking the ball down the field and attempted to make Wakefield start the set within their own 10 metres. But a big plus point for Wakefield today has been the newcomer, Talima Tautai. It really has been a handful in that middle channel, and you know, it'll be a very exciting rest of the season for the Wildcats fans if he maintains this form.
I can imagine now that the wires are buzzing within the Wakefield camp. Rangi Chase, bit of a bump on the leg. He limped into that play the ball situation. He's limped to the left wing. He doesn't look good on his feet, and it's not going to take Sherlock Holmes to work out, or you wouldn't think so, where Wakefield are going to try and attack on this next set of 6 if they can keep hold of the ball.
Off his foot, says Robert Hicks. They've still got the ball. Yeah, Rangi Chase, I think, would have been long odds to play in this game a month ago. He seemed resigned to be leaving Castleford after a win over Witness earlier this year. Tautai has made the bust again. Wakefield have spilled the ball. They have got it back. That's Peter Fox sporting the headgear, former international. In his second spell at the Wildcats, you haven't seen much of Peter Fox today, and he is, at the moment, their leading try scorer with 12 in Super League this year. Tautai now throwing an American football-style pass, and they get it out wide to Collis, and Collis has lost the football, and now Carney's lost the football. Are you going to call it a knock-on-a-thon here, Sean?
Well, I'll use the term if it'll make you feel good, Rod. It is a knock-on-a-thon. It's just sloppy, isn't it? It's just been a real sloppy 6 minutes. Neither side really trying to they're trying to complete sets, but they're just having this inability to do it at the moment. Everyone's sort of panicking a bit. I think Wakefield in particular think they've got to play a bit of catch-up, and you don't have to. You've just got to go through the processes. Points will come if you put pressure on another team. If you get field position through your possessions, you put yourself in a position to score tries. Wakefield have enough scoring ability here. They don't need to keep pushing passes.
Yeah, they really did look like they were overhamming the egg on that situation. You could see carnage, Rangi Chase limping. He was out on his feet, and the big right second rower that's onto the field in Tautai bumped, pushed a ball that looked very, very forward on one occasion, but every player was trying to get at him.
Overhamming the egg?
I don't know whether I've heard that before or I've just made it up.
Well, not only Super League, but modern cuisine from Paul Cullen as Wakefield come forward. They seem to be feeling a bit of scoreboard pressure here, because no matter what you say about keeping calm and going through the process, they can see the scoreboard and the clock ticking downwards. Reece Lynn, playing in the centres these days, started his career at Hull as a winger, but looking to force his way through. Lauatiti, always a danger man this close to the try line, and Castleford know that. He'll do well to get that down from there, that's for sure. Held up, says Robert Hicks, they will get to keep possession 10 metres out.
Well, let's see if Tim Smith's last tackle plays are as good as Chase from the first half.
Indeed. Similar situation. Chase put it right on the try line. Tim Smith has done likewise. They're going to score! Tim Smith has replicated exactly what Ranky Chase did. Well, Robert Hicks wants to have a look, but it was right into the same area of the field, and Tim Smith had got it absolutely on the spot, and it could be the try that Wakefield need to get back in this game.
Well, again, the try has resulted from a kick, so we've got to check whether he's onside first. Certainly looks like they're all onside, and the last thing the referee wants to check is the grounding. He's happy with the way the ball is taken, it's just how it goes to ground. From that look, it looks like it's going to be a try. And
it will be Dean Collis' second try of the afternoon, and there appears to be no reasonable doubt involved.
No, well, John Keir got the call right. He said, what will Tim Smith's kicking accuracy be like? Will it be as good as Rangy Chase? Absolutely. He's put it on the try line. Dean Collis was able to go up and out-leap Justin Carney, and he's put the ball down. There's absolutely no doubt that's going to be awarded a try, as it is.
I think the phrase is touche, isn't it? What you can do, well, we'll take a bit of that and we'll give it a little bit more back. Coaching point on that, I think. Get in the air first, get your hands to the ball. Don't just jump for the sake of it. You've got to be the man in the air, stay up higher, stay up longer, and come down with the spoils.
Lee Smith has a 100% kicking record this afternoon with 2 from his first 2 attempts. And now he extends it to 3 from 3. Well, it might still be a match because the lead is cut to 14 points, courtesy Dean Collis's second try. Courtesy this kick from Smith, John.
Superb, isn't it? It is. It's almost a replica of the Rangy Chase one. Just short of the goal line, and it comes from the blind side of Carney. So he won't be able to see Collis. It appears at the last minute, fields the ball for a very good try indeed. And that really has opened the game up. It's only a 14-point ball game now, and there's plenty of time left.
Well, Tim Smith with an assist there, as I mentioned earlier in the match, second only to Michael Dobson in the list of assists last year in Super League, and languishing down in 19th this year, which is interesting, but he's going to move up the list with that one. It looks easy. They make it look easy, don't they, these top quality kickers? It isn't easy. And there's a knock on.
Oh, without a doubt, just going back to the kick, you know, that ball came down on the head of Rangy Chase, who's carrying a bit of an injury. Back to that play, you know, an offload forced. His arms everywhere. The referee's had a real good look at that one. It looks like there's an attempted offload. It's bounced off a Cas player, regathered on the floor. Bit of a schmozzle.
Paul, is another example of when you've just scored and you've got an opportunity to get down the other end, roll down towards halfway, get a good kick into the corner and ask Castleford another question. You know, it just turn ball over. How often in a game do we see this happen?
It's constant, Sean, and it's one as coaches we try and work out almost on a daily basis. That's that element of concentration, and players absolutely do relax just after the score. And just to finish the point I was making on the Tim Smith kick, you know, that ball looked like it was coming down on the head of Rangy Chase, who we know is injured, and Wakefield have identified him. That's why Justin Carney had to come in and have that kind of fly hack jump at the ball.
Spider cam view of the Castleford Tigers attack. They would not move up any place in the table, but they moved to within a couple of points of Widnes and Wakefield, who are the 2 teams immediately above them in the Super League table if they go on to take out this match, and they lead by 14, even having just conceded that try to Dean Collis. As Milner goes down the short side, there's not a lot of space down there, let's be honest. They keep the ball alive, and in the end it's a hasty kick which might prove difficult for Kincaid. It did prove too difficult for Kincaid. He spilt the ball. That could be a big blunder, because Cass are going to get another set here 10 metres out.
Well, it wasn't the best kick, was it? It was a bit of a flapper. It was a rush kick from Milner, but because of the flight of the ball, it just dipped in front of Kincaid, and it's normally very, very safe indeed under the high ball, but not on that occasion.
And sometimes you just have to put it down to it's one of those days. We've highlighted Ben Cockayne many times on Sky Sports, the fantastic impact he's had in games that he's played for either Hull Kingston Rovers or the Wakefield Trinity Wildcats. A very, very good winger, and you know, he's barely been able this afternoon to get a play right. I'm sure he'll come back from this, and you'd like to see it at some point in this game. He's got to find a way of getting himself back into this match.
Well, his form this year has been so good. He was called into the England train-on squad, Ben Cockayne. The England coach Steve McNamara will be watching closely this weekend to see how his squad members perform here. Castleford looking for what would be a 7th try. Chase has put the money ball out once more. That's going to be a hat-trick to Kirk Dixon. Wakefield felt the pass was forward, but Chase had got it absolutely right. A cut-out pass that cut out the entire Wakefield left-side defence, and Dixon has bagged a hat-trick.
Well, we've seen Rangi Chase throw some of these passes, haven't we, that have been intercepted, or sometimes they've gone over the sideline, sometimes they've even gone to the touch judge. But on the back of a Ben Cockayne error from a crossfield kick, Castleford were able to get the scrum, and that is an absolutely magnificent pass. I don't think that's forward. I'm comfortable with it. Look where his hands go backwards. The ball travels a long way, and Kirk Dixon hangs onto the sideline. He uses the sideline very, very well there. And I've got no problem at all with that.
Great vision, wasn't it, from Chase? He saw Cockayne was just slightly too tight and looped the long pass out. But the skill level's very, very high indeed. And the difference between that, the ones that gets intercepted short, he played that away from the line rather than going to the line. Great pass and a good finish from the hat-trick hero, Kirk Dixon.
I was just going to bring Stuart Cummings in on that, because one of the conjectures we have in the game is a forward pass. Are you comfortable with that? Are you happy with that?
I'm comfortable with that. They're always very difficult when they're lob passes to the wing, because that's when the momentum on the pass does actually come in. But I think you could see from where the ball came out of his hands, it actually came out backwards.
Yeah, I think Wakefield were appealing more in hope than anything else. I think they knew they'd been undone that down this near side. The Wakefield defence totally undressed by Rangi Chase's brilliant pass.
You could see the dilemma of the decision-making process on the face of the Wakefield players, and certainly Ben Cockayne. If you come up fast and hard here and try and cut that pass down, make that tackle on whoever catches it, Rangi Chase will simply switch the foot and lay a little ball in the in-goal. You know, you pays your money and you make your choices, and they made the wrong one then.
Well, Kirk Dixon is the first Castleford Tiger to score a hat-trick in the Magic weekend, but he has got a bit of work to do to reach the individual record, which is 2 guys from last year, Joel Monaghan of the Warrington Wolves and Danny Maguire of the Leeds Rhinos, who both scored 5 times. Mind you, there's 27 minutes left yet for Dixon.
You know, when we look at this game, and you can't quite believe, and it's bringing the best out of certainly the Castleford Tigers, and Wakefield have had their moments in this game. And you glance down at your table, and Castleford have only won 3 games so far this season. It's quite remarkable.
Well, this will be their 3rd win in their last 5 Super League matches if they go on to win, and they lead now by 3 converted tries. We've already seen Catalan Dragons dismantle the London Broncos, and still to come the Hull derby between Hull FC and Hull Kingston Rovers, and then Warrington Wolves meet St Helens in the final match of the first day of the Magic weekend, as the sun briefly disappears and makes it a little cooler out in the middle there, which will probably please the players who are yet to play.
Yeah, I guess they will. It was warm, wasn't it, when Catalans beat the Broncos earlier on? It was very warm out there, but it looks like it's cooled down a bit. The players will like that sort of comfort leveler, but I'm just not convinced this game's done and dusted yet. I know you might argue 36-18, you say, well, surely Castleford are going to go on and win this game. They should go on and win this game, and it probably will, but there's still plenty of time left on the clock, and you just get a feeling that Wakefield have got more points in them.
Well, that was risky from Carney, because it put Jordan Tansey under some pressure on his own try line, and had he made a mistake, it would have been handing field position to the Wildcats. Oh, this is brilliant stuff down a very, very narrow alley of the field between Dixon and Chase, who really is having a field day out there. He's conducting the Castleford Orchestra, and Castleford have a penalty.
Well, the whole momentum of this game is firmly in the favour of the Castleford Tigers. You know, they'll get good field position on the back of this kick to touch from the penalty. A little bit scruffy on contact, and thoroughly deserved that the referee steps in on that occasion. And if Wakefield are to get back into this game at any point, we've got to see a little bit more from Lee Smith, and that's a tough ask. We know he's a winger, a centre, a full-back, being asked to play at standoff in the absence of a player who served Wakefield very well all season in Paul Sykes, and that Paul Sykes-Tim Smith combination that served Wakefield so well simply isn't here today. We've seen the best, I think, of Rangi Chase, and whether he's playing 6 or 7, he's an out-and-out scrum half. Yeah, there's, you know, just some untidiness. It's getting all too scruffy. The 2nd consecutive penalty, and Wakefield will do so well now to defend on the back of this.
Well, it was poor, quite literally, wasn't it? Justin Poor penalised, who sent off early in the season for landing a few haymakers at Wigan. This time, just a penalty conceded for mucking around at the play of the ball. It's given Chase another chance. And Townsend, here he goes again. Carney, this time they muscle up on the try line. And boy, didn't they have to muscle up, because the man Phil Clark was calling the tank on the flank was threatening another try. So is Thompson, and he's very close. He's over. He's over. Surely that's another Castleford try. And that could just about be the game, even in the 56th minute.
Well, I made a comment earlier, didn't I, to say that Wakefield weren't out of this game. They may well be now. They had to be next to score, I think, and whilst I think they still will score points, I'm not sure they're able to come back with such a huge scoreline, a huge deficit now. There's a terrific try from Jordan Thompson there. Justin Carney was the one that was held up just before the line. They did a great job defensively on him, didn't they? There we go, Danny Washbrook and Justin Poor in the tackle, and you'll see here, he just pushes, here he gets up to play the ball. Ellis out to Rangi Chase, plenty of decoy runners coming through. Justin Carney, well, you'd almost have backed him in to score then, wouldn't you? But great defence, Dean Collis involved. And then Jordan Thompson's will all have a go, and there's 3 or 4 Wakefield players around, but he just finds the strength to get over. Gets his steps off the right, decides to lower his centre of gravity, and it's just sheer determination, that. Excellent, very well taken try.
They really are doing some damage, aren't they, on Tim Smith? We know he's mercurial with the ball. We know he's the think tank of the Wakefield side. They're really putting him under pressure.
Well, Jordan Thompson, another try to Castleford. It goes over from Ellis. He turns 4 into 6 again, and that makes it 42-18. Well, in anyone's language, that's a bit of a toweling for Wakefield.
He'll be seen, I'm sure, John, in those areas as an absolute rout. We've spoken well about, the obvious players at Castleford in Rangi Chase and the way that Justin Carney has dominated every time he's touched the ball today. But in young Jordan Thompson, we've seen that he's been very versatile. He's been on the back end of some position switches that haven't really worked in his favour. He's operating at centre today, and he looks like he's working his way back into being a very confident and very professional young player.
And worse for Wakefield as Danny Kermon, their captain, has had to leave the field as well. So their hopes of a comeback hardly aided and abetted by the departure of Kermon, who'd scored one of their tries in the first half as well. This is going to be a very, very tough final quarter of this game for the Wakefield Wildcats, who came in as favourites against Cass, having beaten them 3 times straight, but on the wrong end of a real drubbing. And as Paul Cullen said, if you go down to that area of West Yorkshire tonight, they'll tell you that it was one of the biggest hidings Cass had ever handed out. Kick from Shenton, don't see too many of those.
That's why.
And that may be why. Mind you, it's not that bad, is it, John? Because at least it just means they can set up 30 metres away from their opponent's line. It's not catastrophic for Cass.
He was only 40 metres away from the line when he kicked the blessed thing. It's a poor kick, Ron.
Well, they've got to do a little bit of defending, but I think they'll be pretty happy with their position overall, Castleford. Let's be frank about it. I don't know why Shenton was kicking, because Ellis or Chase should have been, but anyway, maybe it's practice for a future game, John.
Could be.
And he's captain.
Yeah.
He's allowed to, he's captain, that'll do.
Well, this is Cockayne, who's drifted across from the right-hand flank, and he finds Reece Lynn, and Lynn trying to get to ground to get a quick play of the ball, but Wakefield being held up there by Shenton. That's more his stock in trade, as Tim Smith drops a ball off. I just wonder if the little bit of the air has gone out of the Wakefield balloon with those couple of tries. Remember, Collis had got them back to 32-18 early on in the second half. Smith steps inside and finds a bit of space and prods a pass, but it's picked up by the wrong man as far as Wakefield are concerned. The right man for Cass, because away he goes, the beast! Carney flying up to the halfway line, and he takes them stopping. Why on earth would you kick to him in open field?
That was an even worse kick, Rod. So if they're going for the worst kick of the game award, that's the one, because there's a bloke there is shifting players for fun. He's as quick as anything, and they're kicking in the ball with 20 metres of fresh air in front of him.
Almost like a bowling ball into Skittles there, wasn't he, Carney? As Jonathan Walker takes it up for Cass. He's had a real impact on this game, Carney. So has Chase, who just drops a little pass off here to Craig Hooby. 20 metres out. Central position. Ideal position to chase, to plot something here. Here he is again. A little ball to Weller Haraki. Offloading it. It's a loose pass. It's picked up by the hat-trick man, Dixon, who'll come inside and just find Chase again and have another go, Rangi. Well, there's that famous little shuffle, the hop, the step of the jump. That's the longest pass of the season, I think, from Rangi Chase. It does find a teammate on the hop in the end. Well, they're playing some exhibition stuff here, Castleford. I'm not sure Darryl Powell will be enjoying this. There's a kick that's wild and inaccurate, and it's picked up in the end by Lee Smith. What you said about structure, you coaches? There didn't seem to be much structure there.
Goodness me, it's a carnal atmosphere at the Etihad Stadium, and both teams have really got into that kind of feel. I mean, 42 points to 18. We're on the hour. There's 20 minutes of the game left to go. Wakefield just looking like they're just trying everything they've got at the minute. You're quite right, you can't work out any structure at the minute because there isn't any. The ball's going from any channel that anybody wants to carry the ball, and they look like they're out on the feet. And who'd have given before the game? I mean, it's 42 points to Castleford at the minute, just on the hours have said. I mean, this could get to 50. That's almost a magic number in rugby league. You don't want to go over there.
Well, you can understand why it's ending up like this. Wakefield have got to score 4 times, and Castleford are so far in front they can almost do what they like here. As Reece Lynn tries to offload, struggling to get away from a couple of tackles, threatened to get the arm free on 2 occasions, couldn't. Cocaine, Tim Smith. Well, that is going to contend with some of the other worst kicks of the afternoon as it disappears dead.
Yeah, that'll go down as a shocker. He's had a shocker. I think he was trying again to get across onto Justin Carney to try to put Dean Collis on. There's an interesting play, isn't it? You're allowed to do that as a restart. If he finds touch, which he has, then Castleford will now get the feed and loose head at the scrum.
Well, there are very few players in the world of rugby league that have the impudence, the temerity to try that. All right, it is with a 24-point cushion, but Chase pulling a party piece out of the bag, and that is a Castleford scrum down.
You've got to love it, haven't you? I mean, that's an optional restart. The norm is to tap it and have the big guys or a winger really trying to get you going forward. But Rangi Chase says, why bother with that? I'll just buy my team 45 yards or so with an intelligent kick.
Well, the kind of thing that just makes you put your head down if you're in the opposition ranks. Another body blow. They're trying to get it out to Dixon again here, who squirmed free. The ball knocked down, batted down by a Wakefield hand. And they'll play on here. Cocaine gets it away in the challenge. Andy Raleigh carts it up. Well, some good work by the Wildcats in defence from Cocaine and co. Port, well, just wrestled to the ground, rotated and piled into the surface. Ayton. Tim Smith, Mathers now. They've got to try really some audacious rugby league here. They need at least 4 scores in 17 minutes.
Well, I think completion rate, tackle completion stats will literally be thrown out the window in terms of the debrief from this game. And if you're in the Wakefield camp at the moment, you've almost got to say, let's just play pattern offload. Let's push and pass and play. We're not going to work our way back into this game at this late stage. There's too much water gone under the bridge. Let's just play Castleford at their own game and see if we can keep hold of the ball.
Well, they're going to score here. They can get it wide on the right-hand side. That is a pretty handy piece of defensive play, and it's come from Carney again just when they needed it. That had gone out wide there. There was a possible trial for Peter Fox, who was lurking on the touchline. A high ball towards a 10-metre line is batted back to Amor. Reece Lynn sidesteps, then sees the try line looming and goes for it. It's come loose again. Raleigh picks it up. He's got it away. They're keeping the ball alive here. Lee Smith in the end fumbles the ball, and Castleford come up with it with, yes, it's Rangi Chase again. And he's still got the ball. What on earth is going on? Play on! Tansey.
Are we watching rugby league here?
No one wanted to tackle John. Well, there's Chase. He wasn't tackled. They tried to wrestle the ball from him. He'd come free. It was play on. It was almost like 2 boxes squaring up, and in the end he got it away to Tansey.
I think he's got a force field round him, me.
Honestly, the referee was right, because the tackle wasn't complete. Play on. I think they've almost run themselves into the point of exhaustion.
Well, we may see some fun and games in the final 15 minutes. Still to come this afternoon, remember, Hull KR take on Hull FC in the Hull Derby. And then Warrington Wolves will match up against St Helens, coming in off the back of that win at Leeds Rhinos in the Monday night match. That's a 6:45 kick-off, the Saints and the Wolves. Cas Tigers looking for what would be their 4th win of the Super League season. It'll get them up to 9 competition points, 2 behind Wakefield.
Well, Wakefield have now got themselves in a position where they've no choice. They have to take the odds. You've got to throw the ball around. You've got to offload. You've got to look for a little kick down, you know, or chip over the top or a one down. But here's an opportunity now. Riesling down the sideline.
Well, Riesling has got Cocaine outside him. He goes himself. He's got Tim Smith inside him. And Tim Smith saying, why didn't you give me the football? Smith scored the match-winning try a minute from the end of this fixture last year. Well, it wouldn't have been a match winner. It might have been a possible lifeline for Wakefield. They have got a penalty anyway, but I think Tim Smith feels if Riesling released the football, they would have had 6 points.
Back on Jordan! Back on Jamie! Go.
Here is Smith once more. Close to the line again, but you look at the clock and there's only 14 minutes left, and you'd have to say if they don't score here, it's going to be nigh on impossible. Maybe they will score here, because here's Mathers. Tautai, great offload, which wasn't expected. Well, the offload was a good one, really, and Trout should have been expecting it.
I think that pass was too good. I think Tautai's gone that offload as like he gave in the first half to Dean Collis. That's just too good. He should be expecting that.
Well, the thing is, I mean, in his defence, they won't have practiced much with Tautai. They won't have seen him playing. I think that's something they're going to realise over the weeks that come, that you need to be on red alert anywhere near him, because he's going to offload a la Ali Alatiti.
Yes, it is the Lauatisi, the David Solomon aspect with him, that the moment he goes into collision, that's the time to step up. He's going to get an arm free, he's just going to bump someone away, and that's going to be you know, a serious weapon for Wakefield once they recover from this game today.
Here's Chase. Now, normally this would just be kicked into touch by any normal standoff, and that's what he's tried to do. I thought Rangi would have something in the box of tricks then which surprised everybody, but he got it into the corner and forced Peter Fox to run inside into some heavy traffic. Mathers brings it away for Wakefield against his old club, but it's going to be a disappointing night for Mathers. Well, knock on against Ayton, who can't believe it.
Well, they've come up with some errors today, haven't they? The Wakefield Trinity Wildcats have really come up with, and that's, you know, that to me just probably typifies their performance today. There's just things that haven't gone their way. They've tried hard, but they've just come up with error after error, and they've been punished. They've been punished by a Castleford side who have been very, very good.
Well, Richard Agar, Paul, had changed the team around because, you know, he, by his own admission, he wielded the axe and got rid of Wood, Wilkes, Malloy and Mellors from last week against Hull KR when they got battered in the second half. It hasn't really worked, isn't he? He's shuffled the pack and hasn't really come up with the right cards, it seems.
Well, at this point of the season, it's not going in their favour. They don't have the momentum. I mean, they were beaten quite comprehensively at Hull Kingston Road as well. Castleford did lose last week. You know, their second half, they got leathered in the first. Their second half was absolutely fantastic. They've actually come into this game in better form, if you can look at the league table and quite believe it. But with Paul Ayton there looking very tired, it's tough when you've only got one hooker and he's got to try and do the full stint.
Chance for Dixon for a fourth try! And Kirk Dixon bags a fourth, a quartet of touchdowns for Kirk Dixon. He'd only scored 4 all season in the Super League before today. He's quite literally doubled his try tally in just over an hour here against the Wakefield Wildcats. And Dixon has taken Castleford to within 1 try of the 50-point mark.
Well, some clever play here, well-worked plays, a lot of decoy runners going through, excellent passing. They hit the mark. They gave the next guy an opportunity to catch and pass straight away. Catch, pass, catch, pass, catch, pass. And then Michael Shenton's just got a little bit of space and a bit of time to look up and see how he can best position Kirk Dixon. So again, looking from side, catch, pass, and now watch Shenton. Have a look, take a couple of steps forward. I know I can put my winger in a better position than I'm in, and Kirk Dixon does wonderfully well to finish that try and to score 4. Great effort.
And we've spoken, and we have done, we've really gone to town on the left wing from Castleford, where, you know, where Rangi Chase and Justin Carney have caused havoc all afternoon, and almost sneaked on the other side of the field. Dixon has come up with 4 scores, and, you know, Michael Shenton has made a massive contribution to that, and also a player that kind of slips under the radar at Castleford in Jamie Ellis.
Well, Ellis looking to take Castor within a couple of points of hoisting a half-century against the old enemy. And that is heading straight between the uprights. So Castleford now lead 48 points to 18 as Kirk Dixon equals the record for most tries by an individual in a match in Super League for Castleford, equaling a record held by Ranky Chase from 2011. And Wayne Price, back in 2002, that was against Wakefield 2 for Wayne Price. 4 tries for Dixon. It's a funny game. You can score 4 tries, but most people will go away from here probably talking about Ranky Chase or Justin Carney. But Dixon, I tell you what, Paul, has finished cleanly and clinically this afternoon, hasn't he?
Well, he's had that about him all his career. You know, quite an unassuming player, not a superstar in any stretch of the imagination. He kicks goals and he scores the tries. I don't know what more you need from a winger.
I'll tell you what, Rod, that try that he scored in the first half, where he's gone up and leapt above the Wakefield players and come down, and he's just going over the side. It's as good an individual try, as brilliant a try as you will see.
I agree. It's certainly one I'll remember for a very long time, having the privilege to see it. It was unbelievable dexterity from Kirk Dixon. He got it down next to the corner flag, which has got extraordinary rugby on it. Well, it certainly was extraordinary rugby from Dixon, who's hunting this Magic Weekend record now, which is 5 in a game from last year from Joel Monaghan and Danny Maguire. And he's still got another 9 minutes here to add to his growing try tally.
You know, this game is so difficult to predict, isn't it? Pre-weekend, I mean, the Catalan Dragons have beaten London by 46 points to 18, and you kind of thought that's the way that game might have gone, but no one, I'm sure, would have give you this score at this point, Rod, that you know, Castleford at the moment have gone one better. It's 48 points to 18, and they still look like there's a little bit more in them.
Proof positive, Paul, that in any game anything can happen, and 2 big games to come, and Hull FC will be big favourites going into their game against Hull KR. But who would write off Hull KR, Sean McRae?
Well, you wouldn't write any team off. I think this Magic Weekend just brings out so much in teams, and you know, in any derby contest, forget about form. Well, we've got two teams coming off losses last week. The only thing you would say is that Castleford probably had a better loss than what Wakefield did, and Castleford have come out today and probably built on their second half performance. Now, Hull KR and Hull FC last week, both sides have won in very good victory. So, you know, how do you have a form guide?
I know you want to brag about it, Sean, as the Hull director of rugby, but it's a great win at Warrington for Hull FC. Wakefield keeping the ball alive. Totai's got it once more. This guy looks like he could be a potential star of the second half of Super League 18, because he's certainly got something about him. Love to see the audacious offload. Here now is Tim Smith prodding it forward. Well, it gets a ricochet into the hands of Raleigh. It'll be 6 to go, Wakefield, from 2 yards out. All things being equal at this stage of the game, with players tired, you'd expect them to score from this part of the paddock, but whether they can or not, who knows. 30 points behind, remember, Wakefield.
Well, it's going to take something for Wakefield to dust themselves down.
There's the try. No problem. Chris Anakin strolls in. Some ironic applause, a lot of it coming from the Castleford supporters who are taking the Michael here. Their side are still 26 in front, and they are mocking the Wakefield supporters by applauding a Wakefield try.
Yeah, and it was Richie Mathers went to the line. He had an option. He could throw long, he could go short, and it's Chris Anakin who runs a really nice hole. He has a good look. Says, well, I'll go through there. Richie Mathers puts him in. You know, it's probably some Castleford defence that's a little bit tired there. They know the game's well won, but you still want to defend him. You know, there's a thing about players that you know, they won't be happy the fact that they've allowed that try to be scored against them, because there's pride in your performance for the full 80 minutes. The Castleford look as tight on their line as what Wakefield have done on theirs.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all a little bit too little, too late, but we shouldn't underwrite the quality of that little play from Richie Mathers. Caught the ball, good hands, stepped to the inside shoulder, just adjusted his footwork, moved the hips, stood up the defender, and sent Anakin clear through without a finger being laid on him. You know,
that is going to say, Paul, that is Chris Anakin's first try for the Wakefield Trinity Wildcats. He'll probably remember it. There won't be much that Wakefield will want to remember, but that might be something for Chris Anakin as his career develops.
Yeah, I was talking to John Keir before the game started, and we were talking about some of the young guys, and we were talking about Kyle Trout and Chris Anakin, and John was reminding us that Wakefield won an academy competition a couple of years ago, and both these guys had come out of that system. Here goes Cocaine down the sideline.
Cocaine, he can certainly put a foot to the accelerator and a kick ahead, looking at Lee Smith with what would have been 2 tries in a minute. Well, Cockayne had to try something. You may look back at that when they watch it on the DVD and think, why didn't he keep ball in hand? But let's have a look at the clock. 5 minutes left and 24 behind. You're entitled to try just about anything then, aren't you?
They've got free remit, you know. The scoreboard in terms of Wakefield doesn't matter at the moment. The season isn't all over. You know, it's not the end of the world for Wakefield. It probably feels like it and will do for 24 hours. You know, there's enough in it from Wakefield, and when Paul Sykes gets himself fit and back in that half-back position, along with the new player in Totai, there's something more for Wakefield to gather for the rest of the season.
Well, Talima Totai has been the standout performer in the Wakefield side. In a side that's been beaten pretty comfortably, there's a real positive in this player. You can see that he's got great power and strength and ability to offload, and he's going to worry defences of other teams. So there's something that they've established just from this, you know, this 80 minute. Although I suppose you'd rather get 2 competition points, but they're not going to get that today.
Yeah, it's a simple ask for me. The star players from Castleford have stood up and been counted, and a few others as well. And for Wakefield, all those you expected to dominate this game either haven't or have not been allowed to.
Well, Wakefield are going to have to wait a long time to right the wrongs of this match, because they don't meet again until the last round of the competition, the weekly rounds. That will be at home for Wakefield. But Castleford are going to have the bragging rights in the Castleford, Wakefield and Pontefract part of the world. There'll be a few Wakefield supporters hiding away this weekend because they have been really hammered by Cass here. There's no two ways about it. They've been taken apart by the likes of Chase, Carney and Kirk Dixon. And as Sean said, 1 or 2 bright spots like the debut of Totai, but not much that Richard Agar will want to remember fondly out of this one.
Well, when you go back to the start of the game, Rod, and I think it was a 16-0 a scoreline we were talking about, just the sheer dominance that Castleford had and how many times Rangi Chase have been involved, whether it was through his hands or through his feet. You know, now Rangi Chase hasn't had to play much this second half. I think he's actually just put the dinner suit on, and we know he got a little bit of an injury, and he sort of stood out. Hasn't got involved anywhere near as much, but you can attribute a lot of what Rangi Chase did in those opening exchanges to the victory that Castleford are going to get in this match.
Tim Smith, that is, spills the ball. It's picked up by Dixon, the man with 4 tries to his name this afternoon. John Keir will be choosing the man of the match, and you'd have to say that Dixon would be in the frame, obviously. Chase, Carney. We'll see who John picks at full time. Here's Shenton. Lynn has got him wrapped up with a little bit of help from Kyle Amor. Castleford, remember, just a couple of points away from that 50-point mark. They're looking to hoist the half-century here before close of business. Chase is going to look to throw out another monster pass to the far side of the field. When this guy Carney gets the ball, there's a real buzz around the Etihad Stadium, because you really feel he could just go like a bowling ball into skittles at any time. Chase has his hands on the ball once more, 20 metres out. And Millington was looking for a possible offload. It didn't come. This is the final tackle for the Tigers, a couple of minutes from the end of the game. Darryl Clark, who started it all. Oh, are they going to drop a goal to rub some more salt into the wounds? My goodness, they have. 49 points to 24. Maybe Jamie Ellis fancies getting to the 50 and 1-pointers.
Never quite see the point of that, but it takes some time on the clock. Not that you're worried about it, and it adds another point. I don't really know whether, you know, that's particularly important. I think the fact that they could have maybe built some more pressure and tried to score another try, Paul. But anyway, he's made that decision. They've gone with it.
Signal very simple and very direct for me. Game's done. We'll just take anything that we want when we come down into your quarter. That'll probably be more important for Wakefield in the debrief than Castleford. That they should not be in a position where they're going to allow their deepest rivals to do that to them. That was about, we just put you in your place and let's see what you can do about it.
Well, 90 seconds to go. Wakefield will remain 2 points above Castleford, but as we've said, Castleford won 3 of the last 5. They've got a new coach giving them a bit of impetus with Darryl Powell, who's going to win his first game. Are they a better bet to reach the top 8 if either of these teams are now?
They look like look like it on this day. If we go back to St Helens 2 or 3 weeks ago, we wouldn't have given one earthly. 2 or 3 weeks is massive in Super League, and Castleford have to keep up this quality and this momentum. Now, Justin Carney has been absolutely awesome today. He was awful in the first 3 or 4 rounds. Suspensions, fighting, swinging arms, belting people. He's now doing what he's getting paid for as a winger, as a centre, being dominant. I don't think he's given a penalty away today, so hopefully he's learned from the mistakes he made early on, and he's got to continue now to do that for the rest of the season.
I think I'm right in saying too, right, that Wakefield have got a game in hand. Is that right? I think they've got to play Leeds at Headingley, which was the round that did he get called up because of snow?
That's at home. That's a Wakefield at home.
Wakefield at home. Sorry,
yeah.
At home. Yes. So they've got a game in hand.
Yeah, they have indeed. 20 seconds left, then Daryl Powell is going to win his first game as Castleford Tigers coach at the second attempt. Wakefield might have the final say here. Amor looking for Lee Smith. It's knocked down. That'll be offside. Well, Tansey knocks it down. Theoretically, should be a penalty for a deliberate knock-on, but a rule that's rarely applied. It was offside anyway. And Wakefield will have the last play, the last chance to salvage something from what has been a miserable afternoon in Manchester for Richard Agar's men.
Do you think they'll take a drop goal, Sean?
Well, they haven't kicked the penalty. A chip ahead, it might provide something here for the Wildcats. Rallies after it, so is Amor. It's a knock-on. The siren goes on a thoroughly dominant performance from the Castleford Tigers, who have absolutely demolished their local rivals, the Wakefield Trinity Wildcats. 49 points to 24. 4 tries for Kirk Dixon, equaling the record for an individual in a Super League match for the Castleford Tigers, held by Wayne Price and Rangi Chase. It's been a record long-standing, so that's equalised by Dixon. Rangi Chase absolutely outstanding, and a brilliant performance too from Justin Carney on the wing for the Castleford Tigers. 9 tries to the Tigers, 4 to the Wakefield Trinity Wildcats, who threatened on occasions to get back into the game, but could never get within arm's length really of the Castleford Tigers, whose